Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about my first impressions of Springtrap in Dead by Daylight. I'm sorry about the scuffed lighting. It is very late at night. I've had an incredibly busy day. I did the PTB in the morning, then I had rehearsals for this Night Rain tournament, and then I had to go eat, and then I had some other chores, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm going to be streaming the PTB tomorrow morning, and then doing the actual tournament. So I've been very, very busy, so I'm recording this at night, and that's why I look like... ugh. But yeah, I just wanted to really go over my first day playing him because I had a lot of fun. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So he is a very weird mix of, yeah, people are making the Huntress comparison, which is fair. For some reason, Springtrap, his main power essentially is to throw a hatchet, except the hatchet, or axe, I guess, has much, much different trajectory and weight than Huntress. It drops like a rock. It's really, really heavy. Now, the interesting thing about this is, although this makes it more of a short-range attack, you can do some insane shit with it. And the skill ceiling for this killer is unfathomably high. So I was able to barely start to scratch the surface of what you can do. Here's just a couple of clips of me actually throwing over loops, kind of almost doing like a nurse blink through a loop. Just take a look. Oh, yeah. God, it's so satisfying when you hit it. So with that kind of stuff, you can see how the skill ceiling for this killer is insanely high, because hitting those orbital shots at close range is extremely difficult. Because if you throw it directly up, it'll come directly down on the exact pixel that you're standing on. It's a direct one-to-one straight line if you arc it like that. Luckily, he has an add-on that allows you to see the trajectory, so if you want to kind of learn how it works, that's fine and all. But let's be real, most people are just going to play him sort of like a short-range Huntress, and that's totally fine. Now, that's only one of his powers. Huntress obviously does better in that scenario because she's got far more hatchets, she can rapidly throw them, and she can throw them much further. However, Springtrap has his whole security office system, which is a really interesting dynamic because the survivors can use this system to traverse the map, but sort of like Dredge, if you go into a locker or the security system in this regard, then if Springtrap goes in there, it's an instant grab, one shot. So yes, you can use the power to traverse the map, but at the same time, if you go in there when Springtrap's in there, you'll get grabbed and then you go down immediately. Now, the problem with that aspect of the kit is that Survive with Friends won't really be as negatively impacted because they'll just be like, hey, I'm going in one of the security offices, and someone will be like, oh no, he's not chasing anybody, don't do that. Like, it's going to be a little bit more unfair when there's communication telling people to not go in, but I do think you shouldn't treat grabbing people in the offices as a primary power. It's just sort of like a happy little accident that occasionally will happen. What's really useful, though, is when you come out of this, you gain undetectable for a long time. Like a really long time, like 30 seconds. And then there's an add-on that increases that by like another 15 seconds. You can pretty much be undetectable the entire time you're playing this killer, which is kind of crazy because he already has a 24-meter tear radius, which is much smaller than normal. So it's a weaker lethality than Huntress, but he actually can do well on indoor maps because he has a bunch of stealth. So it's sort of an interesting trade-off there, and he actually circumvents having no map control, unlike Huntress, because he can just kind of teleport across the map. At the same time, survivors can also do that, so it's almost like a net neutral sometimes. He also has an absolutely crazy suite of add-ons. Some range from just silly, some range of like really good. For example, he has an add-on to where when you throw the axe and it embeds into a surface, it emits a circle, and in that circle you gain 10% haste. Now the survivors also gain 10% haste, but they don't know if you have that add-on. It's not like the clown's yellow gas where they can very clearly see that's what's happening. They just have to guess and then run back into it. So you can really use that to your benefit because it's 10% haste for 6 seconds, which is massive. I'm actually pretty sure they're going to nerf that add-on because it kind of rewards you for missing sometimes, which is not necessarily a design I want to see pushed. But overall, though, I do think he's probably going to end up in like a high B tier aspect, kind of around Huntress. He's got less lethality than Huntress, but he has more stealth options and more traversal options. So kind of like, pluses and minuses. Overall, ends up being a pretty solid killer. The one thing I might find pretty annoying to go against with this killer is the zoning is pretty strong. He's not really slowed down like when Huntress pulls out a hatchet. She is massively slowed down. When this killer pulls out his axe, he's really not slowed down very much. It's maybe like slows down 5% or something. So you can kind of just hold it and just zone people for free, but you can only do this at a short distance because it will not go very far. So overall, I think it's pretty balanced from what I've seen. Obviously, like I said, this has an insanely high skill ceiling, so I'm looking forward to playing more tomorrow. But overall, first impressions are pretty good, I would say. I will say, as someone that has not played Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm planning to do it before the killer actually comes out, I don't know what the hell this really has to do with Springtrap. Like, I don't know what the axe has to do with it. Apparently, it's from, like, some fan fiction lore that Scott decided to add in or something like that. I don't know. It just seems weird. Again, I don't know anything about it, but even to me, it seems like it's not thematic at all, so that's a little strange. I didn't expect to just get a glorified hatchet. That's just weird. But other than that, the whole traversing the security office thing is really cool. And you can immediately tell, because, you know, I've seen footage of the game, that's very on par for the course. And even I smiled when I saw that, because I was like, damn, that's like, I feel like they did that really, really well. So overall, I'm looking forward to playing him a lot more. I think it's too soon to say exactly how strong he'll be, but overall first impressions are pretty good. Next, I want to go over the actual patch notes, because now we have numbers and a couple of other things. Vecna feels a lot better. I played him on the PTB as well, so now let's go over those patch notes. All right, starting from the top, just a quick summary of the killer's power. We've all seen that already. So let's move on to the things that I've not actually covered, which are the perks. The first one is Help Wanted. This is basically machine learning, except instead of stealth and haste, you gain Save the Best for last. It's sort of an interesting effect, and it does last for quite a long time. They also made the perk Machine Learning also last a minute, so it feels like they're kind of incentivizing you to run both of them at the same time because they both last exactly 1 minute. I don't think that's going to be a super useful perk. You have to kick the generator has to be completed, and then you have to be in position to actually get a regular attack, which doesn't really benefit this killer because he's probably going to be hitting with his axe, not regular attacks. So, I don't think this perk is that great for 25% faster recovery. I don't think this is very good. The next perk, Phantom Fear. This is a perk I think a lot of people are sleeping on. They see a 60-second cooldown to get a 2-second aura reveal. That's shit. But I don't look at it like that. The way I look at it is this is sort of like Lethal Pursuer that recurs during the match. Hell, you can even combo with Lethal Pursuer if you want to have even more aura reading. But this is really good because a lot of the time you don't have a direction of where to go as killer, and just being able to just go, oh, there's a guy, and just go directly to him because you see their aura, even for only a second or two. It wouldn't even have to give aura reading. Just a killer instinct would be great to just let me know where to go. This is incredible for endgame scenarios where there's only a survivor left looking for hatch. It's like whispers on crack, basically. So I actually think this is a really good perk, and it can kind of replace Lethal Pursuer entirely. So the fact that it recurs multiple times per match, a lot of people see the cooldown and think it's not good. I think this perk is slept on. I think it's actually very good. So I could see myself using this very frequently. Next is we finally got the Exit Gate regression perk. If the gate is above 50%, it'll regress pretty quickly. I don't think it's that great. I honestly think that 99 gates kills people more often than it saves them, so I don't need a perk to help me with that. I think this is not a very big deal. You can see some type of Terminus or No-Ed or something, No Way Out endgame build. You could probably do something with that. It'd be funny, but overall, I don't think 99 gates is a big enough problem to justify a perk slot in trying to combat it, so The map itself, I played on. It's mostly okay. The main building has a couple of extremely strong windows that I'm a little worried about. There's one that's to the left of the stage that as a killer, you kind of just have to vault it. There's not really any correct way to play it. The drop down after the vault is not far enough to stagger a survivor, so they don't really lose any distance at all. It's a really rough window for a killer. Everything else seems mostly fine, but that one window is an absolute nightmare, so I kind of just want to stay away from that one. We've already seen all the updates about this. We've seen all this. I wanted to go into the actual specifics of the changes that we got to Vecna now. So Vecna was buffed pretty heavily. Again, Artist got some add-on changes. I don't care about Artist. Someone should be honest. No one cares about Artist. I feel bad. But Vecna, though. I played Vecna today, and he feels actually a lot better. The only thing that feels slightly worse is the cooldown of Fly swinging after it is slightly longer. It's 0.275 instead of 2.5, so a slight nerf there. But in terms of traversal, you go much further and much faster now with Fly. You start with Fly off cooldown, and the cooldown of Fly is much better in addition to all the other spells being much better. So Fly feels way better for traversal now. I'm actually just using it in loops to just vault windows essentially and keep chasing. Fly feels really good right now. All of the cooldown reductions also feel great. The mage hand bug, which I found out was the disparity where some people, after you raised a pallet, some people could drop it right down on you again. They actually fixed that, so now it's always in the killer's favor. The killer gets the hit every single time. That's really great. Dispelling Sphere travels much faster now, so you can disable items a lot easier in an actual chase. And yeah, all the cooldowns of the spells being much better just feels great overall. So Vecna got a pretty significant buff, and I love Vecna. I just get depressed when I'm playing him because every time I'm playing him, I'm always thinking, why am I not playing Dracula? He's just this, but better. And I still don't think Vecna's as good as Dracula, but I do think he is a lot better now. So I'm a huge fan of what they've done with these changes. Unfortunately, they did the thing where they add a lot of these things base kit and then nerf the add-ons. So much so that the original like cooldown add-ons, for example, are like 1 second now, to the point where it's like, why even bother using that? So just stick with his good ones like, Bag of Holding and stuff like that, and you'll be fine. So it's kind of nice not having to rely on the cooldown reduction add-ons anymore because they're just base kit now. So I understand why they nerfed them, but it's also kind of lame that they just basically serve no purpose anymore. But other than that, I think Vecna is in a much, much better spot overall. Now, Call of Brine. This actually got a significant buff. I still don't know if it's worth using over other gen kick perks. I tried it a bit today. I even tried bringing back the good old Call of Brine Eruption Overcharge. It didn't really work super great on Springtrap. Maybe on like Wraith or someone that's much better at kicking gens, it'll offer a lot more value, but I didn't find it super useful on Springtrap, so Thrilling Tremors cooldown was halved, which is really nice. I really consider that to be more of an information perk than an actual slowdown perk. Lets you know which gens are being worked on, stuff like that, so that's fine. Superior Anatomy got its area detection increase, so when a survivor vaults, it activates the perk. That area is now bigger. That's great. The cooldown was also shortened as well. I'm glad they didn't buff the actual speed of the vault, because the speed is already extremely fast. That didn't really need a buff. Everything else around it, though, I'm totally fine with. Dark Devotion got a kind of a small buff to where the duration lasts 15 seconds longer, and the tear radius size is now 40 instead of just the standard 32, so a little buff there. Retribution got a couple of numerical changes to just last much longer for the Oblivious. I don't think Retribution is worth using most of the time, though, on Hex build, so still Now, Machine Learning is interesting. It lost 2% haste, which is, a little painful, but it also got a very, very sizable 50% increase in its duration. So a full minute of no tear radius and 8% haste is pretty damn good, in my opinion. You can kind of have that up the entire match now if you're good with kicking gen. So that's pretty nice, and I would consider this overall to be a buff, and especially considering it can now actually synergize pretty well with Springtrap's perk. I think that's why they kind of made those durations the same there. Overall, though, Thwack got a little bit of a change. The reveal area is a bit larger. I still don't think Thwack's good, but that's it for killer perks. Very quickly, Botany Knowledge was buffed. They removed the penalty for using medkits with it, which I hate. I don't know why they did this. Botany Knowledge is already a very good perk. I don't think it needed a buff whatsoever. Now you're going back to just having a brown add-on with no medkits, and you can fully heal yourself 50% faster now. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't like that change. I don't think it needed that at all. Champion of Light had its cooldown reduced, which is also kind of strange because I feel like this perk was already pretty solid, especially when combined with Fixated. Kind of weird changes here. Light Fitted had its cooldown reduced to 10 seconds, which I hate because I hate that perk, but I think that one's fair. Desperate Measures was also pretty significantly buffed, going from like 60-ish% max to now 80%. So I don't know why they keep buffing these healing perks. I kind of thought they were really okay. That also affects your unhooking speed too, so I'm kind of not super happy with a lot of these survivor perk changes. Exaltation, I'm fine with that buff. That is completely okay. Counterforce buff, I'm fine with as well. Even Empathetic Connection buff, I think I'm okay with that as well. But yeah, I'm not super happy with Botany Knowledge and Champion of Light and even Desperate Measures. I thought those perks were mostly kind of okay, and I don't really think they needed much of a change there. Overall, though, that is what we've got on the PTB so far. Like I said, I still need to play the actual killer a lot more to get a really good idea of his problems, if he's got any major ones and things like that, and play styles that might develop. But overall, I think I had a good experience, and overall, this is a pretty good patch. I think the theming is a little weird with the Fire Axe, but overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with it. Long day today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.